This morning, Latino Caucus members have gathered and also members of organizations, of national organizations and local organizations have gathered to press the immigration reform issue. It is time, and we would like to press that upon the community in Washington, D.C. First, I would like to introduce to you the chairman of the Latino Caucus, Senator Gilbert Cedillo, District 22nd in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. I am Gil Cedillo, and I have the privilege and honor of being the chair of the Latino Legislative Caucus. The caucus has 26 members who represent the entirety of the state of California, urban and rural, suburban, exurban, rich communities, low-income communities, middle-class communities. They are the face of California today and its future. And we are here to say in no uncertain terms, to be very clear, here in the capital of California, that this is not Arizona, that the politics of hate and division, the anti-hysteria politics that are pervasive throughout the state and are manifested today in Arizona are unacceptable, that they do not reflect the hope, the dream, and the aspirations of millions of Californians, that the assault, particularly by Commissioner Poizner, but by the candidates for governor who wish to blame immigrants for the woes and the ills that confront all Californians are unacceptable and are rejected by this body. We recognize the constructive force, the positive spirit that immigrants play in the life of California as they are dominant in industries like agriculture, manufacturing, construction, service, and tourism. We recognize the billions of dollars that immigrants pay to our Social Security. We acknowledge that immigrants are a major force in consuming products and goods and services. We recognize that the workforce of immigrants are diligent, they're skilled, they're dependable, and are vital to the future of our economy. We acknowledge that immigrants are not a problem, but are part of the solution that will move California forward economically and move this great nation forward. We recognize that in times of elections and economic turmoil and challenge, that too frequently in our nation, we have blamed immigrants for those ills. And we rebuke those claims. We reject them wholeheartedly, and we are here today to say that we have the proof, but more so than that, we have the commitment that immigrants shall continue to play a vital role in the future of this state and the future of this nation. And as such, we're joined here by one of our most prominent national leaders and other members of the legislature who call upon the president to stay true to his word, to be a man of his word, to keep his commitment. The man that many of us campaign for throughout this country, the man who marched for immigrant rights, the man who supported a driver's license for all immigrants and supports the DREAM Act, that man who is now president of this country, to use his extraordinary leadership skills, those that were demonstrated as he shepherded the historic health care reform for our nation, to use those extraordinary blessings and to bear those blessings on the Congress, on the Senate, to complete immigration reform now. It is no more clear and no more certain that this is needed now when we look at the lack of leadership in Arizona, We look at the leadership that's gathered here today to call upon the president for immigration reform now, comprehensive immigration reform now. National Council of La Raza is one of the preeminent organizations that reflects the Hispanic community in our nation. In California, they represent and provide services to millions of Californians. They are on the front lines of confronting all the challenges that confront us: unemployment, home foreclosure, lack of quality education, and more so lack of hope and opportunity. They are led by one of the most skilled and able leaders, one of the most articulate voices of the Latino community, one who brings tremendous talent from Washington to the leadership of our organization at the very grassroots. We are very pleased today and very honored to have the president of the National Council of La Raza, Janet Munguia, to be with us here in the Capitol to talk to us about the need for immigration reform now. With great honor and great privilege, I present to you the president of National Council of La Raza, Janet Munguia.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor to stand with this group of distinguished leaders from throughout the state of California. We are so pleased to be here and to bring, on behalf of NCLR, the National Council of La Raza, all of our community-based organizations, our affiliate network, and their representatives and their board members and their leaders, because today we are in Sacramento, we are in this state's capital to seek an agenda that we believe will absolutely advance the Latino community. I want to thank Senator Gil Cedillo for his leadership in leading the Latino Caucus, but his leadership in leading California, and so many of the other distinguished representatives who are here today. The power that you see here today is in a united community, a united front. We see leaders here at the state level, at the national level, and at the local level. And we have come together because we understand it is important to speak up for our community, to speak out for our community. We are advancing an agenda that we know is going to be very important. Yes, we need to deal with the economy and the issue of jobs. Yes, we need to deal with education and the advancement of our children. Yes, we need to deal with health care and making sure that we have access. Yes, we need to protect the services that so many of these agencies provide at the local level in that safety net way to our community. But today, right now, we are asking for comprehensive immigration reform because we know that immigration touches everyone's lives. It touches our families, our neighbors, our communities, and in every place we turn. It is a threshold issue for the Latino community. And we did come together in 2008. We did mobilize and we voted. And we reached historic levels of representation as we voted in 2008. And we saw a 32% increase in the Latino vote that absolutely made the difference in that election. Today, we are now channeling all of that energy, all that enthusiasm into advancing the issues that we believe will change this country for the better and advance all our communities. So today, we ask for everyone to come together and make the call for comprehensive immigration reform. We must remind President Obama that he did make a promise. He did make a promise, and we want to help him keep that promise, and we are here today to do that. And we must ask on leaders on both sides of the aisle to come together and see a resolution to this urgent problem. We know that we have to do this in a bipartisan way. We need leadership at the national level, and I'm so proud to stand with these leaders who are saying in California, those people who even think about coming forward with legislation like we're seeing in Arizona, you know what? That is not acceptable. We will not accept that kind of discrimination, racial profiling against our community, and today we stand here to reject it. Muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes porque nosotros sabemos que este tema de la reforma migratoria es muy importante y por eso estamos aquí unidos en hacer un llamado a los líderes del Congreso, al presidente Obama y aquí en California a decirles, tenemos ya es hora, tenemos que actuar en nuestras promesas que han hecho y tenemos que ver esa reforma tan importante. Lo que hemos visto en Arizona es inaceptable y nosotros no vamos a aceptar ese tratamiento de nuestra comunidad. Y hoy estamos en el Capitolio, representantes de líderes del nivel local, estatal y nacional a decir, estamos unidos, nuestra comunidad latina está unida y vamos a usar nuestro poder político, económico a cambiar y a llamar atención a este tema tan importante. Gracias por estar aquí con ustedes. Nosotros estamos con ustedes. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. We will now have Senator Denise Moreno Duchesne, representative of San Diego, District 40.
Thank you all very much. Certainly to all the folks here and to NCLR and other community folks who have joined us today and the media who are here. You know, I have the honor to represent the district that actually is the border with Baja California, all of the border with Baja California, and to serve this year as chair of a conference of border state legislators that acknowledges what most of us recognize who live there, that we are one region, one economy, and one opportunity for us to do important sustainable development things like renewable energy and to move our economies forward. We think we are the future, and we know in California, as has been the truth for this country for the 200 years of its existence as the United States, that it is an immigrant country, that all of its strength has always come from the fact that we had immigration from multiple countries, from multiple peoples. It has been a strength of the entrepreneurial spirit that those immigrants brought, whether it was 200 years ago, 100 years ago, or last year, that the folks who come here bring that spirit, bring that willingness to work, and bring that dream that their families will have a different and better life than where they came from. That is what has driven our economy, both nationally and certainly in California. We are very clear in California that our economy has grown on the backs of immigrants, and particularly in the last 20 to 30 years. Our agricultural sector, Senator Sodillo said, our services sector, all of those industries that are major industries in this state are very immigrant labor dependent, which is why we and many of our employer in this state have supported comprehensive immigration reform for several years. And I think beyond the commitment, and certainly we look to the leadership of President Obama, but the real question is going to be, will 60 senators stand up and allow a vote on this issue? You know, Senator McCain, once upon a time, believed in this. Probably after today, he's nervous about his election, and won't. Senator Alexander has stepped up to the plate as a Republican who's willing to discuss what is clearly an economic issue. It's about recovery in this nation, allowing people out of the shadows, giving them Social Security numbers, giving them driver's licenses, allowing their children to go to colleges, and allowing them to work and pay taxes in a legal fashion that allows them to be part of the Social Security system without just paying taxes and getting nothing back for it, is really part of what drives our economy. And to ignore that and say, oh, yes, we can change the immigration system with some of the amendments as some have proposed, and not deal comprehensively with those who have been laboring in this country for more than 10 years, and in this state certainly for longer than that. Many of them, you know, more recent and longer ago, doesn't matter. If they have a job and they're here working, they're contributing to the economy. Their status in terms of their documentation is not the issue. It is not a crime, despite what Arizona would like to say. It is not a federal crime to be in this country without an undocumented status. It's a civil thing. It's something we learned once upon a time about 30 years ago when I was in law school. This was all still true. And what we did then, and what was done in the previous 20 years to that, was people kept restricting the number of people who could come legally from countries that were major senders. And now we're at a place where people say, well, gosh, people weren't allowed to come legally, so now we have too many illegal people coming here illegally. Well, the truth is we need to reform the immigration system, allow for appropriate immigration, allow people to come and unite with their families as we always have, and not have it be a 10-year wait. Acknowledge that the system needs to be changed, needs to be reformed. The Ag Jobs Bill from 3 or 4 years ago was a good one. Allow for temporary workers to come and go and not have to be sneaking back and forth and worrying about their families and being assaulted by criminals at the border. There are real criminals there. Law enforcement needs to focus on the real criminals and not on people who are here working and raising their families. Thank you very much.
Now we'll hear from Vice Chair of the Latino Caucus, Tony Mendoza.
Buenos dias, buenos dias. Thank you all for being here. We need to address comprehensive immigration reform on a national level and ensure that our leaders in Congress know that we are here to support them. Anti-immigrant sentiment is not new to us here in California. We've seen this rhetoric and this xenophobic hysteria before when Pete Wilson was governor. However, time has proven that providing a pathway to citizenship is a major economic stimulus. In 1986, Immigration Reform and Control Act is an important snapshot of the stimulus provided by America's economy after millions of workers were allowed to fully contribute to the American society. The real wages of the Immigrant Reform and Control Act shows immigrants in all age groups increased their salaries between 1990 and 2006. But as was the case then and it is the case now, these immigrants are here to stay. They are the backbone of our economy, often doing the jobs that nobody else wants to do at the lowest wages. There are 2.7 million unauthorized immigrants living in California who make up nearly 10% of the labor workforce. If these unauthorized immigrants were removed from California, the state would lose $164 billion in expenditures and $73 billion in economic output. We need to show these hardworking people that they are appreciated by providing them with a pathway to citizenship. This allows them to stabilize their family situation and as well as provide an economic stimulus here for our state. As we are aware, California is currently facing a budget deficit of $20 billion, yet a report from the University of Southern California shows that providing the legalization of Latino immigrants will boost our state's economy by at least $16 billion. With the passage of the comprehensive immigration reform, we will get people back to work, get our economy back on track, and sustain our nation and our state. Let us take care of the people who take care of us and the toil of fields to put food on our table. Now for the Spanish-speaking television, I would like to say a few words. Thank you. Tenemos que pasar una reforma migratoria integral y decirle a los líderes del Congreso que estamos aquí para apoyarlos. El sentimiento antimigrante no es nuevo para nosotros aquí en California. Hemos visto este tipo de ataques antes cuando teníamos el gobernador Pete Wilson. Sin embargo, el tiempo ha demostrado que la provisión de una vía a la ciudadanía es un estímulo económico importante. La reforma de inmigración en 1986 es un ejemplo de la ayuda que la economía de los Estados Unidos puede recibir. Después de que millones de trabajadores fueron autorizados a contribuir plenamente a la sociedad americana. Los salarios reales de estos inmigrantes subieron en los años después de esta reforma. Pero como antes era el caso y es el caso ahora, estos inmigrantes están aquí para quedarse. Son una importante parte de nuestra economía, haciendo los trabajos que nadie quiere hacer, con salarios muy bajos. Hay cerca de 2.7 millones de inmigrantes en nuestro estado y representa casi el 10% de los trabajadores aquí en California. Si sacaríamos estos inmigrantes de California, el Estado perdería $164 mil millones de dólares en gastos y 70 mil millones de dólares en la producción económica. Tenemos que asegurarle a esta gente trabajadora que son apreciados y darle un camino a la ciudadanía. Esto les permitiría estabilizar su situación familiar, así como el bienestar económico de nuestro Estado. En California nos enfrentamos con un déficit presupuestal de 20 mil millones de dólares. Sin embargo, un informe de la Universidad del Sur de California muestra que la legalización de estos inmigrantes latinos podría impulsar la economía de nuestro estado por más de 16 mil millones de dólares. Con la aprobación de una reforma migratoria integral, vamos a hacer que la gente vuelva a trabajar, nuestra economía se recupere y el futuro de nuestra nación se mantenga. Gracias. Para terminar, tenemos que cuidar a las personas que nos cuidan a nosotros y que hacen el trabajo en el campo que pone comida en nuestras mesas. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. We'll now hear from Assemblymember Kevin De Leon from District 45.
Gracias, Xochitl. Voy a hacer el intento ser muy breve porque por el simple hecho que tenemos muchos legisladores que quieren hablar y compartir algunas palabras. Yo nomás quisiera decir que nosotros, los legisladores, estamos unidos colectivamente para alzar nuestra voz, para dar un llamado duro e indirecto al Congreso de los Estados Unidos, al Senado y a la Casa Blanca. Que el pueblo latino e inmigrante, que ya estamos cansados de ser utilizados como los chivos expiatorios por todos los males económicos y políticos de este país. Que nuestra gente, a final de cuentas, con el sudor de su frente, día tras día, semana tras semana, gana su sueldo con el sudor de su frente, con dignidad. El inmigrante aquí en este país no llegó pidiendo limosna, al contrario, el inmigrante en este país, a lo largo ancho del estado de California, la octava potencia mundial, llegó a este país para mejorar las condiciones cotidianas de sus familias aquí, en los Estados Unidos. Los inmigrantes aportan miles de millones de dólares a las arcas presupuestales a nivel local, estatal y federal. Como mencionó nuestro senador Gil Cedillo, nuestra senadora Denise Moreno Duchesne, igual Tony Mendoza y nuestra líder de Washington DC, Janet Munguía. El latino este año, con su voz, con su voto, con sus marchas, que son manifestaciones, acciones, vehículos para alzar nuestra voz aquí en este país, mandaremos un mensaje a aquellos republicanos, a aquellas personas del sector más extremista del ala derecha, que no vamos a tolerar de ninguna manera. Aquellos que son los hijos de Pete Wilson, igual como el Steve Poizner y Meg Whitman, de mi punto de vista, yo hablo de título personal, son los hijos de Pete Wilson porque siguen fomentando la retórica vil en contra de nuestra gente. Hoy día recalco y concluyo que mandaremos el mensaje a cada sector racista y derechista y mandaremos un mensaje proactivo en favor de una ley comprensiva, una ley justa y pareja para nuestra gente. Gracias. I have the honor and the pleasure to introduce a young man who has been at the forefront for the human and civil rights of all people, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their place of origin. He's been a man who's been in the trenches, has rolled up his sleeves. He doesn't just talk the talk. This is a man who walks the walk. I know because I've been there with him before. It's with great honor and pleasure that I introduce the chair of the Black Legislative Caucus in the California State Legislature from Oakland, California, Sandre Swanson.
Thank you. Brother. Thank you very much. Kevin sounded like poetry. Excellent, my brother. My name is Sandre Swanson. I'm an assembly member from Northern California. I'm chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus. I'm also chair of the Assembly Committee on Labor and Employment. And we're here standing in solidarity with other caucus members and the Latino caucus to say that it benefits all Californians and it benefits everyone in our nation to have comprehensive, fair immigration policy. And it's important that the president, with all on his plate, recognize that the time is now for us to have fair, comprehensive immigration policy. We also have to recognize that the hypocrisy that exists in the current policy, that we accept the positive contribution and labor of immigrants. We accept the tax contribution, the positive tax contribution of immigrants, but we do not respect the humanity of immigrants. And so we have to have a policy that recognizes their humanity, that also gives honor and comfort to their children, and understand that this is not a narrow issue. This is an issue that will benefit our entire community, and it does benefit our entire community. And if we're going to be consistent and stand as a moral society, then we have to have comprehensive immigration reform that is fair to all of those that are here and contributing. We have to have a pathway to citizenship that is fair and comprehensive, and we have to not stop pushing until everyone understands policies that are being promoted in Arizona are not accepted in California. We will not accept policies that deny people their basic humanity and responsibility of citizenship. Thank you all very much.
We will also hear now from Assembly Member Tom Amiano. He's the chair of the LGBT Caucus.
Gracias. Bienvenida a Mexico. I come proudly from San Francisco, a sanctuary city, an aggressive, proud sanctuary city. We recognize everyone's contribution. In terms of the LGBT community, we stand here in solidarity. You know, the community is very, very diverse, and we embrace this cause wholeheartedly. We have some laws in San Francisco I'd love to see be state laws. We have a municipal ID program regardless of immigration status. Again, we have laws protecting juveniles from being deported. We work with the police so that people feel reassured if they are a victim of violence that they can report this to the police without fear of deportation. And we've worked with the banks and financial institutions to allow people to use their hard-earned money and deposit them in checking accounts and not be ripped off by predatory lenders. So I salute you all today. In terms of Arizona, no necesita estudiar para pendejo. Somebody told me that.
Muchas gracias. We will now hear from Assembly Member Héctor de la Torre. Thank you.
As you can see, we believe that a broad segment of California supports comprehensive immigration reform because they recognize that our broken immigration system unnecessarily damages our economic competitiveness and tears apart families and communities. This coalition of supporters, which includes leaders from business, labor, religious, and law enforcement communities, understands that a common-sense approach to immigration reform will benefit the entire nation, not just California. Comprehensive immigration reform means a return to the rule of law, increased border and homeland security, cracking down on unscrupulous employers, preventing future flows from removing incentives to enter the country legally. Reform proposals must protect American workers, end the shadow economy, provide certainty to California's agriculture, and increase California's competitiveness in all areas of the economy. These things we all agree on. So when Washington is dragging its feet, it makes no sense for the people of California, for the people of the United States. Comprehensive immigration reform also means reuniting families, modernizing existing immigration programs, and giving immigrant college-age students a chance at the American dream. We have seen many college students who are undocumented, so-called AB 540 students, miss out on the opportunity to take advantage of that education and be contributing members of society after they graduate from college. At the end of the day, immigrants are not just workers. We know they're here in the United States. We know they're working where they're providing value to the people of California, but they're not just workers. They're human beings. They need to be full members of our society, not just robots that show up to work and disappear at the end of the day. We need them to have the full range of rights that we all have. That is what immigration reform is for the people of California. Quiero decir muy brevemente en español que todos los grupos laborales, líderes de negocios, religiosos y seguridad pública están a favor de una reforma migratoria comprensiva, que tenemos que proteger a los trabajadores, tenemos que hundir a la economía escondida, tenemos que estabilizar el sistema agrícola de este estado, tenemos que mejorar la competitividad de este estado y la economía en este estado. Y la manera que hacemos todas esas cosas es con una reforma migratoria que trae a todos los trabajadores de este estado a la mesa colectiva de los bienes y los derechos de este país. Por eso estamos aquí, estamos unidos para que se haga lo que todos reconocemos se tiene que hacer por nuestra gente. Muchas gracias.
Just a couple more speakers. We will give time for some questions now in a moment. We will hear now from Assemblymember Majority Leader Chuck Calderon.
It is such an honor to be here amongst this group of distinguished leaders on so important an issue. You know, Denise Duchenne left, but she's actually going to Arizona today. And I told her not to because we may never see her again. Or have to go pick her up somewhere in Southern California. Excuse me, South America or Central America. But now in Arizona, all that police need to have is a reasonable suspicion. It is now easier to arrest Americans and immigrants than it is to arrest terrorists. You have to think about that. I've been to Arizona. I have relatives in Arizona, and I have friends, and the Arizona are good people. But their leaders have now made their state the face of ignorance and fear. Immigrants contribute mightily to this country. They mow our lawns. They cook our food. They raise our families. They give the middle class a standard of living that they could never have without the generosity and the desire to work on the part of immigrants. We must have immigration reform. We don't have enough money in the state of California or in this country to build a wall long enough or to build a wall high enough to stop people from all over the world coming to America to accomplish their dream. We have got to have immigration policy. Census information shows that Latinos and immigrants, if it wasn't for their color, they would be WASPs. They have a strong sense of community, which many of them bring from their countries. They have a strong sense of family, strong ties to the church, and as a group have the greatest number of entrepreneurs of any other ethnic group. And if you question that, just look on any freeway off-ramp or on-ramp the next time you go home. So we're calling for immigration reform. We have a president who can accomplish with his extraordinary skills, and we hope that he hears our message today. Thank you.
And we will hear from our last speaker. It is Senator Lou Correa representing Santa Ana.
Thank you very much. Senator Lou Correa representing Central Orange County. Very briefly, I just want to say that immigration reform is the right thing to do. Want you to remember a name, Jose Angel Garibay, a Marine, Orange County. He was the first American soldier to make the ultimate sacrifice in this set of wars for our country that we are now involved in. And I'm proud to say that I carried the resolution urging Congress to bestow upon him American citizenship posthumously, because you see, His mother brought him over to this country without any documents, and he made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Brevemente, quiero decir que la reforma migratoria es lo apropiado que debemos de hacer ahorita. Quiero que se acuerden de un hombre, de José Ángel Garibay, un soldado, el primer soldado americano que perdió su vida en estas últimas guerras, el primer soldado perder su vida de Orange County. Su mamá lo trajo a Orange County sin documentos y asimismo sacrificó su vida por esta gran nación. Y por eso es apropiado que hoy, este día, tengamos reforma migratoria. Muchas gracias.